story broke early Saturday morning that the Cleveland Browns had traded, or I guess agreed to trade, for Jerry Jeudy. They are giving Denver a 5th and a 6th in this year's draft. And my initial reaction is I think it's a good trade for both teams. The Broncos are in a position where they need to build their team through the draft. Now, some Broncos fans may be saying, well, how is a 5th and a 6th good compensation for a guy we drafted in the first round? Well, for one, Jerry Jeudy is not exactly Mr. Durable. I mean, he's missed 10 games in his first 4 years. And that may not sound like a ton of missed games across 4 seasons, but when you factor in the number of games he's also had to leave early, or games where he's been limited or not effective due to being injured, it actually comes out to way more than that. I think if you adjust for those games, it's probably closer to a full season where he has not been available. That is not a good ratio through the first 4 years. And when you dive into the stats, for his career, Jeudy is averaging 3.7 receptions per game and 54 yards per game. He has 0 1,000-yard seasons and has only scored 11 touchdowns over 4 years. And while those are not impressive numbers, especially for a first-round pick, the glaring stat for me is the completion percentage when he's targeted. He has a 59% catch rate. That is a simple calculation of catches divided into the number of targets. He's been targeted 356 times in his career. He has 211 catches. To put that in perspective, some other noteworthy first-round wide receivers from that 2020 draft and their career catch rate. Justin Jefferson, 68%. CeeDee Lamb, 70%. Brandon Ayuk, 67%. And look, you can make the argument that Denver's quarterback play the past 4 years has been subpar, and it has. But it's not like those other guys I just mentioned are, playing with Peyton Manning or Drew Brees. Kirk Cousins missed the second half of last season. CD has played about a full season's worth of games with Andy Dalton and Cooper Rush when Dak's been out. Ayuk has been catching passes from Jimmy Garoppolo and, for the past 2 seasons, the last pick in the 2022 draft. And to be clear, I really like Jeudy's skill set. I think his talent far surpasses what his statistical production has been through his first 4 seasons. I believe he could easily catch 80 to 90 balls for 1,200 plus yards in the right situation. But this is a results-based business. And until he does it, what could be is irrelevant. Go out there and do it. I actually think Sean Payton probably wanted him out of there a year ago. I don't pretend to know the inner workings of the Broncos organization, but I just get the sense that Payton was never really a fan of Jeudy, and if he had his way, Jerry Jeudy would not have been a Bronco in 2023. But I also think, and we have seen, Payton wanted Russell Wilson out of there, and that was the top priority. And that potentially would have become more complicated if you would have gotten rid of their top wide receiver from the season prior. But either way, it's now in the past. Wilson's gone. Jeudy is gone. Denver moves forward. So the reason I say it's a good trade for both teams is Denver needs all the picks they can get after the disaster of a trade with the Seahawks to get Russell Wilson, and how the massive contract is now affecting their cap really for the next 2 years. You cannot afford to pay a bunch of guys a premium in free agency when you have $85 million less in cap space over the course of the next 2 seasons because of what you still owe Russ. And when it comes to players taken in the 5th and 6th round, they do not make a lot of money. They are also guaranteed next to nothing. So best case, you hit on some late round picks and they're cheap. And if they don't work out, you cut bait and it's not going to cost you a lot of money. For the Browns, while you are taking on a big salary, especially relative to Jeudy's production, he'll be making just under $13 million this upcoming season. And remember, that is fully guaranteed. You're getting a guy who stretches the field. Stefanski really hasn't had that during his time in Cleveland. And when you look at the Broncos' top 4 receiving options, Amari Cooper, Jeudy, Elijah Moore, David Njoku, you could argue that is among the best groups, right? Not any one of those guys, but the best 1 through 4 among the best in the league. How many teams can say that receivers, 1 through 4 have, at least from a talent perspective, how many teams have more talent than this particular group? And I do think Cooper will get extended before this upcoming season. The guaranteed money on his contract has expired. Now, his salary is $20 million, and he counts $23 million against the 2024 salary cap, but I highly doubt he plays on that number. Remember, he signed the extension with Dallas at 5 years, $100 million, $60 guaranteed prior to the 2020 season. And he's been really productive for Cleveland since being traded. So I see Cooper getting an extension, most likely a deal similar to what we saw Tampa give Mike Evans in terms of the guaranteed money. Now, I think Cleveland will need to add a third year for cap purposes. So, for Amari Cooper, maybe something like, 3 years, $80 million, 50 guaranteed. Elijah Moore was a second-round pick for the Jets back in 2021, so he is not eligible for the fifth-year option. But he's sure as hell not going to get a new contract this year. He did have career highs in games played, receptions, and yards in his first year in Cleveland in 2023. But like Jeudy, his catch rate is bad. It's actually lower than Jeudy's. Moore comes in at 57% for his career. And he's a slot player. If anything, his catch rate should be significantly higher given the routes he's running and the average depth per target. But we'll see if he takes a step forward this year. Look, at the very least, you have two players in Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore who have major talent and will be highly incentivized to have big seasons. And that brings me to Deshaun Watson. 2024 begins the series of absolutely bonkers cap hits. Watson is scheduled to count for each of the next 3 seasons $64 million against the cap. You heard that correctly. For 2024, 25, and 26, he's basically taking up 1/4 of the Browns' salary cap. And that's 100% on the Browns. First, for giving him that amount of money, and also for just the absurdity of fully guaranteeing all $230 million. Let me give you a quick list of players who recently signed contract extensions and what their full guarantees are, right? So Watson's at $230. Here's a quick list. Tell me what you think. Joe Burrow, $146.5 million. Justin Herbert, $133.7. Lamar Jackson, $135 million. Jalen Hurts, $110. Lamar Jackson is a 2-time league MVP, and he's 27 years old. Joe Burrow is 5-2 in the postseason and damn near won the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts had the Eagles on the brink of a Super Bowl victory at age 24. And then last season, he just set the record for, single-season rushing touchdowns by a quarterback. So the difference in value between those guys and Deshaun Watson is absolutely staggering. We are going into the 4th season removed from Watson's best career year. He has shown nothing to suggest he is on an upward trajectory. I think it's fair to say Watson will never play to a level that even comes close to what his contract is. I don't even know how to put it into words. Deshaun Watson would have to, win multiple league MVPs and win the Super Bowl to justify what the Browns gave up to acquire him and then decided to pay him. To refresh, Cleveland gave the Texans first-round picks in 2022, 23, and 24, and then also a 2022 fourth-rounder, a 2023 third-rounder, and a fourth-rounder in this upcoming draft. And then the $230 million fully guaranteed. It truly is astonishing in its stupidity. Look, right now, the talk is the Broncos and how terrible that trade with Russell Wilson and his extension was, and that was also horrendous. Let's be clear. But the focus will shift to Haslam and the Browns as we get closer to the season. That is a massive amount of pressure on Stefanski and the offense, and specifically Watson. They have surrounded him with the best talent he has had in his career. Amari Cooper, first-round pick. Jerry Jeudy, first-round pick. David Njoku, first-round pick. Elijah Moore, second-round pick. If Deshaun Watson does not show marked improvement this season, things are going to get really weird in Cleveland. In the 12 games he's played for the Browns over 2022 and 2023, Watson has tallied career lows in touchdown-to-interception ratio, completion percentage, yards per attempt, yards per completion, yards per game, and he's taken 37 sacks. To take over 3 sacks per game when the offensive line finished 2023 rated at number 2 in the entire league and 2022 at 6th, both per Pro Football Focus, that is on the quarterback. There's no other way to put it. If you continue to be terrible when you have one of the best offensive lines in the league and now one of the most talented receiving cores in the league, it's over. We'll see how things play out in Cleveland, but I am shorting the Browns in 2024 and beyond. Until they get out from under this Watson contract, I just don't see their path to success.